Emma Frost, Juggernaut, Moonstone. What do these three individuals have in common? Some may say they're cool, they're good villains. Villains. There you go. They were once villains, but now they're so-called heroes, or they are heroes. This time on the spinning spot, guys, I'm getting back to what I used to do with the opinion spot. You know what I'm saying? Give my opinion on certain subjects and let you guys have at it. And me and my friend Deadpoolzilla talked about this for a while once while we were on the phone together. And the question was, guys, should villains become heroes? And also vice versa. Now, I showed you three individuals that are pretty much heroes some way. Now, some may say, oh, she's done her time, you know, she's cool, she's no longer the White Queen. Juggernaut's on the Thunderbolts, he's trying to do the right thing. Moonstone's she's on the Thunderbolts as well. But the fact is, sometimes you shouldn't change a good villain into a hero, in my opinion. I gave Juggernaut his credit. I don't like Emma Frost as a hero, guys. I'm going to put that right out there. I don't. I still think she has her own hidden agenda. And call me crazy on that, but that's how I feel about it. Juggernaut is too much of a good villain to become a hero. He tried, but as we saw, Cyttorak, the guy the identity that gives him his powers, started taking his powers away because he started becoming a good guy on when he joined the X-Men. He started having that friendship with Squid Boy or Fish Boy, I forgot his name. Then when he joined the new Excalibur, that's when it all started, where he went back to being bad. And now he's on the Thunderbolts with Luke, trying to change him. And I understand where Luke's trying to come from. He had a prison record, so he's trying to change these guys. But some villains shouldn't change to heroes, and there's some heroes that shouldn't have changed to villains unless it matters. Unless a good writer comes along. But sometimes it's bland, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You know, like for example, on the Thunderbolts now, Luke has a mixture of classic Thunderbolts, which are, you know, Songbird. She started out as a villain. She was known as Screaming Meanie. But now she makes a better hero than a villain. And I love how Songbirds come out. I love Songbird, period. You know, Fixer, he's a hero now. He's with the Beetle, or now he calls himself Mach 5. It's hard sometimes to see these villains turn to heroes sometimes, because they were so great as a villain. And sometimes, as I just mentioned, some of those, it was for the better, because when the start of the Thunderbolts came out, guys, as we all know, it was all about former villains trying to reform. They were tired of that life, and they wanted to change. So they did. Even though it was great to see that with the Thunderbolts when it first came out. And, you know, Songbird's made up a liking of that. She's a great hero now, you know. Steve Rogers has said he would love to put her on the Avengers. She still has a spot on the Avengers in his book, you know. The former Beetle, I'm forgetting the Beetle's real name off the top of my head right now, and I'm so good with the names of pretty much Spider-Man villains, or just villains, period. It's kind of hard, but he was tired of it. And he's changed. But people like Crossbone, who are now on the team, he'll never change. You know, Moonstone, she'll never change. You know, sorry, even Juggernaut, he won't change, because if he does, he loves the power of the Juggernaut. And if he starts being goody-goody again, Sutter's just going to take the power again away from him and find someone else worthy to be the walking Juggernaut. You know what I'm saying? And then you got some villains that just quit because they want to have a normal life. Like the Rhino. The Rhino went off, stopped being around. He actually got the Rhino suit off of him, got married. You know, he was happy, and I accept that. But then a new Rhino came along, made his life a living hell, killed his wife. He puts the Rhino suit back on just to help Spider-Man at first. Then he blames Spider-Man for his wife's deaths, so he becomes the Rhino again. You know, it's more, you see this more in Marvel than in DC. But then when you say, okay, but Chris, what about the Secret Six? They were former villains. And yes, you're right. Secret Six, and big ups to Miss Gail Simone. She's doing a wonderful job with that book. You know, she has made these characters great. But when you look at it, yes, these are all former villains, you know, but they're trying to make a difference, pretty much. Pretty much how the Thunderbolts were. Now back to being what they were. But when Osborn was running them, they were pretty much just a slew of villains. You had Bullseye on there. You had Moonstone. You had a Radioactive Man. You know, Venom. Then when they went to that Black Ops team, you had all these. You had the Ghost. Now the Ghost is talking about he wants to change as well. You had Axeman. You had Ant-Man, even though he really didn't want to be on the team. You had Yelena Bonava, the Black Widow #2. You had people like that on the team. It was full of villains. And it just sometimes bothers me, because sometimes when you have such a great villain, it's hard to replace that villain with a new villain. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's very hard. Because as far as I'm concerned, I can never really see Doom becoming a hero. You know what I'm saying? I can never see Lex Luthor becoming a goody-goody two-shoes. You know? It's hard. But then when you flip the script, you know what I'm saying? With heroes becoming villains because of a certain situation that happened. We take, for example, let's see, off the top of my head, Bishop became a villain. Bishop was one of my favorite X-Men. I loved the guy. I loved his powers, how his powers worked. You know, anything he got hit with, he absorbed it and shot it back at you with tenfold. You know what I'm saying? That was his mutant power. I loved it. He was from a future where everything was wrong. The death of Xavier happened, so he was sent back pretty much to protect Xavier. But then what had happened? He shoots the man that he was pretty much sent back in time to protect because of Hope, baby Hope. He felt that Hope was not the Messiah, pretty much the bringer of death for mutant kind. And he became the villain. He became pretty much the villain for Cable's book. He would chase Cable and Hope throughout the future. He looked different. He got a bionic arm, everything like that. It was sickening to me. I hated that. I still hate it to this day. But he was one villain. Now Tyler, we were talking and Tyler said, did you like when Colossus became a villain? Now, Colossus has a little bit of defense because he kind of went mad and things like that over the death of Ileana. And he blamed Professor Xavier for her death. And sometimes that can drive, hero to being, but he came back to being a hero, But then when you got these villains that you say to yourself, to why did they put them on this hero team? Like, for example, when the X-Men started putting all these villains on, like Mystique and Sabretooth, I was looking at like, why'd you do that? You know this girl's never gonna change. Why'd you put Sabretooth on it? This guy's too bloodthirsty. It was like, why did you do this? I hate that. Now some people might go, I know probably some people are going to defend Emma and say, yeah, she was the founder of Generation X with Banshee. Yes, I will agree with you on that. But I purely more liked her as a villain. She was great as White Queen. And, a lot of people didn't trust her when she joined the X-Men. Like, people were always like, watch out for her, things like this. When Shadowcat came back to the team, she was like, I can't believe she's on with us. When I first joined the X-Men, she tried to recruit me to join her Hellions with force. She kidnapped me. That's how I felt. And that's how I feel about Emma. I don't trust her. I still don't trust her to this day. Yeah, they write her good and stuff like that, but that's the question, guys. Should villains become heroes? Does that take away from their character? Because most of the time, these characters are great villains for a certain character or just for that particular universe. Does it always work? Because in my opinion, it doesn't always work. It's better keeping them one way. Don't switch them. And I'm sorry that I've gone on a rant, guys. I don't mean to, but it's time to get back to basics with the opinion spot, and that's what I was doing with this edition of it. It just bothers me sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's hard to make good villains now. Some people may say, oh, if anything, if you want to talk about heroes becoming a villain, then they should have made the Sentry a villain from the get-go. And you know what? If anybody ever says that to me, I will damn sure agree with you on that. That guy should have been a villain from the get-go. Not a disturbed, and you can see me putting the quotation signs, if you could see me, with a disgusting face on my face. Hero. It just bothers me. But like I said, but then somebody might say, oh, but look at Namor. I don't consider Namor a villain. He's a tweener, in my opinion. There's sometimes they write him as a villain, sometimes they write him as a hero, and then you got an anti-hero. The same thing with Hulk. Stop making him a villain. Sometimes he's just misunderstood, in my opinion. He's not the villain that people want to believe. Sometimes people write him to be. And that's my fear, what the Avengers movie might be. The Hulk, the villain, which I don't want. And I'm sorry, once again, going on a rant, but a villain's a villain. And without a good villain, you have a great hero that needs a great villain. And many heroes have great villains that counterpart them. It's like if Marvel decided to change the Mandarin to a hero. It's like, whoa. It's like trying to change Black Adam to a hero. It comes off wrong. So, it bothers me, guys, sometimes to see that. But that's the question for this opinion spot. Should villains become heroes? Or should they just stay what they are? Because we all love them anyway. Because I love a good villain.